our first speaker this morning, and that is Brianne Caplan. And Brianne is the CEO and founder of Coderheroes. She's also the executive director, and she's the founder of Code Your Dreams. Lastly, she is a data scientist at Adovo. Her lightning talk this morning is why coding education is important for every child. And this is her slide, which I will share with all of you. She included her social handle so you can tag her during her lightning talk. And I will kick it over to Brianne.
Hi everyone and happy Friday. My name is Brianne Caplan. I am the CEO and founder of Coderheroes, where coding is a superpower for my students. We're an app development bootcamp for kids age 6 to 18, and we have a take a class, give a class model for Code Your Dreams, a nonprofit that teaches culturally relevant coding to underserved students in Chicago, where I'm also the founder and executive director. And as Carolyn said, I also have the enormous pleasure of being a data scientist at an awesome ed tech company called Adovo, so check them out. So my talk is something that I am so passionate about, which is why coding is super important for every child. And I think about this in three main buckets. Number one, equity. Number two, future success for students. And number three is the secret sauce that I call coding as a superpower. So starting with equity, coding is for all is now a key ingredient for equity. And I strongly believe that every child deserves the opportunity to learn how to code. Coding is the language of the modern world. There are over about 700 programming languages out there. Can you believe that? And it's becoming the new standard for literacy. Coding is so much more than computer science. It teaches math skills, writing, communication. It teaches logic and computational thinking. And it teaches those skills that are really hard to learn, like teamwork, perseverance, and resilience. And I'm just going to end this bucket with a couple of quotes that I love, one being one of my heroes, Bill Gates. He said that everybody in the country should learn how to program a computer. He added, because it teaches you how to think. Steve Jobs said, a computer is a bicycle for the mind. Moving on to bucket two, coding is a key factor for future readiness, whether that's career readiness or college readiness. Exposing all students to coding would not only add millions of jobs to the economy, but would also give underserved students access to some of the most stable, highest paying jobs out there. You've probably heard the saying, code or get coded. There's a fabulous McKinsey study that showed by 2030, they estimate 800 million jobs will be replaced by automation. And we already know that currently 90% of jobs require IT skills. So imagine the future. Finally, bucket three is that magic ingredient, what I call the superpower factor. Coding is a superpower for my students. It all starts with an idea or a dream. With coding competency, a child can change the world with code. Code sparks creativity, it builds confidence, empowers students' own problem solving, and it promotes community activism. I'm going to give an example from one of my students where coding not only allowed him to transform lives of others, but it also transformed his own life. And just remember, every child has their own unique story and their own unique way that they can impact the world with code. So my student is this amazing sixth grader. He's experienced a lot of trauma in his life. Gun violence is something that's touched him and his direct family members, and he's seen it with his own eyes. So as we know, trauma is something that affects us both psychologically as well as physically. So it shouldn't be a surprise that he had trouble focusing in school, he was not getting good grades, and he had not excelled in extracurricular activities. But when he came to my program and learned how to code, he absolutely flourished. He took the experiences that he had And he built an all-encompassing safety app that helped others feel safe when they walked around the neighborhood, because he knew that he didn't feel safe when he walked down the block or walked to school, and he wanted to help others who were in the same boat. So not only was my amazing student able to impact the lives of others through this incredible mobile app that he built, but it also transformed his own life. It sparked something in him. I'll end with this story, which makes me so happy. He walked into my program director's office one day, cavelling. He said, Miss Bree, it's me, is his favorite teacher he's ever had. He said, coding is cool. It's real world. I can build something that matters. He showed the director his app, the coolest app that he has ever seen. And he said, what is it again? Someone who codes. That is what I want to do in my life. And all it takes is for a student to find that spark, that interest. And I strongly believe that coding can do that for our students. The sad reality is that a lot of students think coding isn't for me. Heck, I've thought that so many times as a woman in computer science, when you see the same type of face for who is a coder. But I just want to end that coding is for every child, and every child deserves the opportunity to learn how to code. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brianne. And if anyone has any questions for Brianne, feel free to drop those into the chat. And in the meantime, I do have a question for you, Brianne. You mentioned at the end, and really just thank you for sharing your story overall. The work that you're doing is so impactful, and I think just being able to foster the next generation of leaders in tech is incredible, and starting at a very young age. So thank you for the work that you're doing. So you mentioned being a woman tech being a bit of a barrier and a challenge. Can you share a bit about how you've overcome that barrier, and maybe share like an anecdote of a time where you did face an obstacle and how you overcame that?
Definitely. Well, I think the first time in my life where I really wanted to code, but I didn't think it was for me, was in high school. We had our first computer science class open up, and I was so excited. But it turned out to be what seemed like a boys' coding club. This group of boys, they signed up first, and they were really vocal about it. And it was a group of friends, and whether, it wasn't reality that this was a boys coding club, but that's how it felt to me. And I legitimately thought, I can't join this class because I'm not a boy. So I didn't end up taking the class. The next time I wanted to learn computer science was in college. I walked into my computer science class. It was honors comp sci, and all I saw were really the same face in the class. Everyone was pounding at their keyboard, and I went home and cried. I thought, everyone is already at this level here. I'm here, like I'm just starting out. Like I'll never be able to compete with students in my class. So I ended up dropping out of the class, and instead I just would take the curriculum from my friends who were taking the class, and I bought the textbooks. I studied on my own, learned online, and the way that I just became confident as a woman in computer science was just being able to find mentors, like other confident women in the space who just kept telling me that I could do it. And then finally I started believing it myself.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We have several questions coming in. So our first question is from an anonymous attendee. Does your organization partner with any local companies to give students exposure to different industries?
No, but it's something that we would love to do. So please email me at Brianne@codeyourdreams.org. As a nonprofit, we love to connect students with people with real industry experience. Those are our instructors, people with both education and technology backgrounds. So I think that would be a super cool experience for my students.
Great. Definitely email Brianne if you have any ideas. A question from Tiara. Brianne, how do students sign up for your program? She has many students at Chicago Tech Academy that would be interested.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I've been to Chi Tech a couple of times. I love what they do. I love that you're an open enrollment school, like I believe the only technology school in Chicago that is open enrollment. So right now we're partnering direct with schools as well as community centers as a nonprofit. So connect with me after, and we should talk.
And we have another question. I have a kindergartner who wants to be an engineer. What are fun ways for kindergartners to learn coding basics?
Yeah, first thing to check out, I always say, is Scratch Junior. It's super cool. You'll get the basics of like logic and computational thinking. Students will be able to create some fun stories, and it's really the building blocks for your future engineer, and that's so exciting.
Thank you. So that was Scratch Junior, you said, as a resource. Great. Is a coding job 9 to 5 or is it more hours? How do you spend your typical workday?
Yeah, so I really think it just depends on what the job is, the flexibility of your job. I know a lot of companies now care a lot about social impact and will allow you to work on other projects during the day. I think a coding job is like any job. It really just depends on the company and the industry.
Okay, and then I think we have one more question. What is your secret sauce to balancing all 3 of your roles and multiple businesses? You have a super impressive resume.
Thank you. It's my coffee. I think I drink about 7 cups of coffee a day. I know it is so unhealthy, but it gets me through. But other than that, it's my students. Like I thrive off of working with students and seeing their confidence grow with code. And like, it's better than coffee, honestly. I think that's what gets me through like long days and long nights constantly, just feeling like I'm always talking to kids all day. Like I have the best life, in my opinion.
So coffee and kids is
Yes, coffee
the
is.
secret ingredient. Well, thank you so much, Brianne. Thank you for sharing your story and inspiring so many people and children. And I'm so excited to continue to follow your work. And I'm just going to quickly project her slide one more time so you all can follow her. And as she mentioned, you can also reach out via email. So here is her slide with her information and her lightning talk. There it is. So follow her at Code with Bree.